Arisores. Rachel, it's the middle of July. Put on something more summery. This is my summer look. I have on a purple lip and two little Sailor Moon buns. What more do you want from me? A couple of weeks ago, I had a video on quick books, quick reads that you could pick up, finish in a day, that weren't really super complicated, nor have a lot of world building, that you could just pick up and read and not have to worry about a billion places or people or things. But in today's video, I wanted to go over a bunch of big books because I love big books and I cannot lie. There's something about a large book that is a bit intimidating, I'll give you, but it's also really satisfying because you're like, just finished 600 pages, what up? Today's video will not be including larger books that take short amounts of time to read because they're just so fantastic. For example, Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff took me about a day and a half to read because it's full of files and pictures and pages that aren't really just pure words. So I'm not going to include stuff like this regardless of how ridiculously big it is. I'm talking about books that have either A, large word counts, B, a whole lot of pages, or C, incredible worlds that make you feel like you're reading a really, really big immersive book. The first one I want to mention is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Yes, I have two of them. Yes, I have a soft cover and a hard cover because I just love the covers so much I just couldn't resist buying both. Rainbow Rowell writes a book called Fangirl where the main character named Kath writes fanfiction, and this is actually the fanfiction that she writes, so you can read Fangirl if you want. If not, know that this is a little bit of a Harry Potter knockoff about a wizard going into his last year at magic school and the shenanigans that happen between him and the enemy of mages and his mysterious roommate. This is a very large book because this is supposed to be the last book in a series and it is her take on the last book in the series, so it's extra long. It's such a cool world because it's like close enough to Harry Potter that you love it, but it's different enough that it's still interesting and that there's still a couple of plot twists that you don't see coming, and it's really fun to read Fangirl and then read Carry On because it's, you know, there's lots of parallels between them and you see mentions of both in both books, which is just wonderful. Carry On itself clocks in at 517 pages. Slightly shorter on my list of very long books is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, which clocks in at 427 pages. I will not shut up about how much I freaking love this book. It's just absolutely incredibly written. From the world to the characters to the romance to the relationships to the murder, everything is extremely detailed and immersive in like a not actually a bit of a creepy way, let's be honest. This is about a school of assassins in a Italian-inspired world where the main character has the ability to control shadow. It's so fast-paced and it's so intense, and while it is like not ridiculously huge, it still did take me a couple of days because there's so much information being thrown at you, but in a way that doesn't feel like info dumping, and I really give props to the author for that. Next up is a series because I have to include all of them if I'm going to include one of them as my big book count, because the entire Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas has an awful lot of pages. With only 119 pages, Court of Thorns and Roses is the smallest in the series. We ramp it up to 625 pages in A Court of Mist and Fury and a whopping 705 in A Court of Wings and Ruin. You have about 2,000 pages of kick-ass fairies and intense magic. Loosely based on Beauty and the Beast with fairies, the series completely expands out from there and we get dark fairies, we get good fairies and bad fairies, and a fairy Hunger Games, and then a whole bunch of revenge, and then some like really intense character development and a really, really awesome romance. I love how Sarah J. Maas weaves these incredible stories and really weird characters together. Like her side characters of myth and legend are so neat. This is a series really good to get into if you want something for the long run because not only is it going to be long to read, it's going to stick with you for a long time. I also want to quickly mention two of my favorite books that are a few of the longest books that I own, but they are part of a series, so, you know, people know them already, but clocking in at 667 pages, I have here Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, and a whopping 699 pages, Lord of Shadows. Because these are a continuation of the Shadowhunter Chronicles, you have the Mortal Instruments, you have the Infernal Devices, and then you have the Dark Artifices. I love her world that she's created. I think they're so cool, and these are her biggest books, but they're also her best books yet. So if any of you are wondering if you should start the Dark Artifices, I'd say even if you don't want to read the Mortal Instruments, either give them a read and or just like look up spoilers online and then read the Dark Artifices because these books are worth every single page they have. And lastly, while not the entire series is out yet, I want to add The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon to my list. While this book is not incredibly long, it hits around the 460 pages for each book in the series, it's such an intense and densely written series that it feels much longer. but in a good way. It's a really weird series to explain to people because it's futuristic, but also kind of dystopian, but then also kind of scientific, but then also kind of paranormal. It's in a future London where a lot of people have clairvoyance, and the main character, Paige, is a dream walker who lives in a gang that helps run the London Underground. This is a series I didn't pick up for a really long time because I was like, about it, but then once I did pick it up, it's so incredible. It draws you in and you need to know everything about every single person and why they're like that and how it came to be. I'm adding this to my list of big books because you have to know a lot about the world. There's a lot of intense world building and there's a lot of information being thrown at you. So it does feel like it's long, but you don't care because it's just so well written. Alright, arms are tired from holding up all those pages. There you have it. There is my list of big books that I love and cannot lie about. Okay, Rachel, you're overdoing it. Sorry, Rachel. Please leave down below some of your favorite big books because there is a few that I did not mention on here that maybe I should have. Just a lot of them are super intense fantasy series, and I kind of feel bad just being like, here's this big fantasy series and this one, with that one measly contemporary, which isn't even really contemporary, I just realized. It's like a contemporary author who writes fantasy. Also leave down below what you think about my little Sailor Moon buns because I'm pretty sure I'm digging them, but like a couple percentages of me. Oh, that is not a straight part. Okay. Hope you guys are having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye.